The Bold and the Beautiful, Blood on the Silka Wedding, a murder, and the collapse of the Forrester dynasty should have been a day of celebration. A victory for love, for commitment, for fate, at least in Rich Forrester's eyes. Only hours after ending his long, complicated engagement to Taylor Hayes, Rich had turned around and given his heart once again to Brooke Logan. Not just words, not just a promise. A spontaneous wedding, right there in the Forrester Creations executive office. A bouquet was rushed in, a ring was pulled from a private drawer, and the papers were signed. No ceremony, no guests, just Brooke and Rich standing at the altar of their own egos while the rest of the family stood blindsided. The ink hadn't even dried before the consequences came crashing in. Thomas Forrester, son of Ridge and Taylor, returned from his trip in Europe to find out not only that his mother had been humiliated and discarded yet again, but that Ridge had married Brooke on the same day he walked away from Taylor. No explanation, no apology, just a cold pivot that twisted the knife into Taylor's back and sent Thomas into a psychological tailspin. The moment Thomas stepped into the Forrester building, the energy changed. He didn't stop at the front desk. He didn't wait for security. He stormed through the design corridor, his fists clenched, his eyes burning. Everyone stepped out of his path. Brooke was alone in the design suite, adjusting her dress. Champagne chilled in a silver bucket. Her veil, untouched, lay draped over a mannequin. She was humming to herself, the sound light, almost smug. She didn't hear the door slam open until Thomas was standing inches away. "What are you doing here?" she said, startled. "You really don't see it, do you?" Thomas's voice was low, shaking. "You never do." Brooke straightened, confused. "If you're here to lecture me, save it. Your father made his choice." "No, you made it for him," Thomas growled. "You manipulated him. You always have. You've destroyed every woman who's ever loved him. And now my mother, she's shattered. Again. And you're here in a wedding dress drinking champagne?" Brooke tried to walk away, but Thomas stepped into her path. "You don't get to celebrate while my family burns." What happened next wasn't premeditated. It wasn't rational. It wasn't forgivable. It was rage, pure, inherited rage that exploded in a single violent moment. Thomas slapped Brooke hard across the face. She gasped, stumbling into the fabric rack. Her eyes widened in shock. "You hit me, that's just the beginning." He spat. He hit her again. And again. Closed fists. Brooke screamed. No one heard. The hallway was empty. Her makeup smeared. Blood pooled at the corner of her lip. She tried to fight him off, her voice hoarse, but Thomas wasn't in control anymore. He wasn't himself. The mannequin, a gift from Hope's old-fashioned line, stood next to the table, with a bronze decorative sculpture resting on the design desk nearby. It was abstract, angular, heavy. A design award. Or maybe just a convenient weapon. Thomas grabbed it. "You ruin everything," he shouted. "Every time we try to move on, you pull us back into hell." And with one wild, unthinking swing, he brought the sculpture down on Brooke's head. The sound was sickening. A wet crack echoed through the suite. Brooke collapsed instantly. Her body hit the floor like silk sliding off a mannequin. Motionless, silent, dead. Thomas froze. The sculpture fell from his hands and clanged to the floor. His breath was ragged. His shirt was stained with blood. And Brooke, the woman his father had married just hours ago, lay lifeless in a pool of red, surrounded by luxury fabrics, shattered glass, and crushed bridal flowers. Reality returned like a flood. Thomas stumbled backward, his eyes darting around the room. No, I didn't mean to, but it was too late. The damage was done. Brooke Logan was dead, and Thomas Forrester had killed her. The next hour blurred. Thomas didn't call 911. He didn't run. He just stood there, paralyzed, staring, until finally he grabbed a jacket and fled the building through the service elevator. Back upstairs, Ridge was laughing with Carter over a post-wedding toast when his phone buzzed. Security had found blood in the design suite. A staff member had passed by and seen something under the door. They called Ridge. He arrived minutes later. He opened the door and screamed, "Brooke, his bride, his forever." Her body broken, her eyes staring at nothing. He dropped to his knees, cradling her in his arms, sobbing. Police arrived. The office was locked down. Forrester Creations became a crime scene. Detectives scoured security footage, but the camera in the design suite, the one that would have shown everything, had been mysteriously disabled earlier that day. The only person caught entering the room before the murder, Thomas Forrester. Ridge refused to believe it at first. He insisted there had to be another explanation. But all the pieces pointed one way. The bloody statue, the fingerprint on the champagne glass, the staff who saw Thomas shouting in the hallway. And worst of all, Thomas was missing. Steffi collapsed when she heard the news. Hope fainted. Liam rushed in, demanding answers. Bill Spencer arrived, already making calls to his legal team. Eric, devastated beyond words, locked himself in his office and refused to come out. But the press got it, and the headlines were merciless. Brooke Logan Spencer Forrester dead, killed on her wedding day. Thomas Forrester wanted for murder. Family in freefall. The end of a dynasty. Rich tried to reach his son. Called every number. Left dozens of voicemails. Nothing. He sat in the design suite for hours, staring at the bloodstain, whispering Brooke's name over and over. The police issued an APB. Thomas was now the subject of a statewide manhunt. Meanwhile, Thomas was hiding somewhere no one would think to look. Alone, afraid, broken, but also convinced, in some twisted way, that what he did wasn't just an act of rage, it was justice. Retribution. For Taylor. For Steffi. For years of manipulation and pain. But justice doesn't come without a price. And now, the Forrester family, already shattered by betrayals, lies, and loss, faced its darkest chapter yet. Ridge had gained a wife and lost her in the same day. And now he might lose his only son. Will Spencer never expected to become the center of a scandal so explosive that it would threaten not only his reputation, but the woman he loved and everything he thought he understood about truth, loyalty, and deception. What started as a quiet obsession with a trail of inconsistencies led him to an apartment on the outskirts of LA, and what he found behind that door shook him to the core. Luna Nozawa was alive. The world believed Luna was dead. After the infamous masquerade night, a lavish charity gala that ended in chaos, tears, and tragedy, Luna had disappeared. A single heel found by the pier, a cryptic goodbye text to Poppy, and whispers of a breakdown were all that remained. A private search had turned up nothing. Most had accepted the worst. Some even whispered suicide. The fashion world mourned. Remy spiraled. And Will Spencer, the golden boy with the polished charm and quiet intensity, couldn't let it go. Something didn't add up. He rewatched security footage. He studied Luna's last known movements. He traced call logs. And finally, an anonymous tip, a grainy photograph sent from an untraceable number, led him to a nondescript building in East LA, far from the glittering lights of Forrester Creations and the catwalks Luna once owned. When the door creaked open, Will saw her. Not a ghost, not a memory. Luna, disheveled, eyes wide in shock, very much alive. The seconds stretched. Her face crumpled in panic. Will, you're not supposed to be here. Before he could speak, she bolted down the fire escape into the alley, disappearing like a phantom into the night. Will stood frozen, heart pounding, unable to process what he just witnessed. Luna Nozawa had faked her death. Luna didn't go far. She ran straight to the only person she still trusted, Remy. The two reunited in a haze of adrenaline, confusion, and fear. Remy wrapped her arms around Luna, eyes glistening. I thought you were gone forever, Luna sobbed. I had to get away. I couldn't live with what I did. What did she do? The truth about that night was buried under a web of masks, music, and misdirection. But one thing was clear. Luna had a secret, a devastating one. And if it came out, it wouldn't just destroy her, it would obliterate Will, Elektra, and the entire foundation of the Spencer Empire. Back at Spencer Publications, Will was a storm of silence. He didn't sleep. He didn't eat. He couldn't stop thinking about Luna's face. The weight of what he'd seen crushed him. He knew he had to tell someone. Bill, his father, the only man who might understand the gravity of what this meant. He called a private meeting. "Dad," he said quietly. "Luna's alive." Bill blinked. "Come again. I saw her. With my own eyes. She ran. She's hiding with Remy. I don't know why. But I know it has something to do with Masquerade Night." Katie was brought in next. The three sat in a silent boardroom, the city glittering below them, as Will laid it all out. The room crackled with tension. "She's hiding," Will said. "And I think it's about me and Elektra." At the mention of Elektra, the mood shifted from shock to dread. Will had fallen hard for her, the enigmatic, razor-sharp creative director of Forrester International. She was bold, fearless, untouchable. But Luna's reappearance threatened to unravel all of it. There was something that connected Luna to that night and to Will, something no one wanted unearthed. The media wouldn't let this slide. If the public found out Luna had faked her death, if they found out Will had kept it quiet even for a second, he would lose everything, not just Elektra, but his credibility, his legacy, his future. But it was already spiraling. A blurry photo hit the tabloids 2 days later, Luna in a hoodie, exiting a convenience store in Echo Park. The caption screamed, "Ghost Girl Returns." Luna Noza was spotted in LA. Alive, Will's phone lit up. Reporters called. Paparazzi camped outside Spencer Publications. Elektra demanded answers. "You said you didn't know where she was?" Her voice cracked with restrained fury. "You lied to me." Will tried to explain, but Elektra had already pulled away. She wasn't just angry, she felt betrayed. Not by the lie, but by the implication. If Luna was alive, what else had been hidden? And what really happened the night of the masquerade? In secret, Will returned to the apartment. It was empty. Luna and Remy had vanished again. But she'd left something behind, a note, handwritten, trembling. "I didn't mean to disappear. I just couldn't live with it anymore. What happened that night? If the truth gets out, I won't survive it. Please don't tell anyone. Not yet. I need time." But time was the one thing Will didn't have. Elektra was backing away. Public pressure was mounting. And Bill had made it clear, if this becomes a scandal, you're out. Spencer can't survive another black eye. Meanwhile, Remy and Luna were holed up in a borrowed cabin near Big Bear. Luna was spiraling. "They're going to find me. I can't run forever." "Then don't run," Remy said, clutching her hand. "Tell the truth. End it before it eats you alive." But the truth was too dangerous. Because the truth was this: on Masquerade Night, Luna kissed the wrong man. Behind the mask, in the haze of champagne and stolen glances, Luna had mistaken Will for someone else, someone she shouldn't have touched. And Will had kissed her back. Neither of them had known the full picture until it was too late. The consequences: shattering. Luna fled because she couldn't bear the fallout. Not just from Will and Elektra, but from the entire Forrester clan. The kiss had implications far beyond romance. It threatened alliances, reputations, entire careers. Now, the fuse was lit. Back in LA, Elektra began digging on her own. She confronted Katie. She grilled Bill. She cornered Hope, Steffi, even RJ. No one had answers. Or if they did, they weren't talking. Then she found the photo. The grainy tabloid shot. She stared at it for a long time. The hoodie. The hair. The walk. "Luna," she whispered. Elektra didn't cry. She didn't rage. She simply whispered, "I'm going to bury them all." Because to her, this wasn't just about love anymore. It was about betrayal. She had built a life, a future with Will, and now it was poisoned by ghosts, lies, and secrets. Will's career hung by a thread. One press leak, one insider whisper, and he would be finished. And Luna, still hiding, still afraid. But slowly her guilt was consuming her. She stared at her reflection, thinner, paler, almost unrecognizable. Maybe it's time, she said softly to Remy. Maybe I have to come clean. But Remy shook his head. If you do that, you're not just destroying yourself. You're taking Will down with you. And you'll lose everything. Outside the cabin, a car pulled up. Headlights cut through the mist. Someone had found them. Inside, Luna gripped Remy's hand, her breath catching. The past was no longer buried. The storm was here. And the truth, the ugly, messy, raw truth was ready to explode. The bold and the beautiful, 10 toes, one like the Sheila Carter resurrection scandal that could tear everything apart. The bold and the beautiful has never been short on resurrections, betrayals, and impossible returns. But nothing lingers quite like the shadow of Sheila Carter. Fans remember it clearly, the moment when her death was supposedly confirmed, when a body was found and the official cause was ruled a fatal attack. But the detail that sparked a firestorm of suspicion across the fandom was as small as it was chilling. All 10 toes were intact. Not 9. 10. The same 10 that should have ruled out Sheila as the victim, because years ago, Sheila lost a toe. So when the coroner zipped up the bag and everyone nodded solemnly at the closure, the viewers knew better. They remembered. And they never forgot. In a universe where DNA tests are tampered with, corpses get switched, and death rarely sticks, the Sheila mystery became legend. But time passed. Deacon grieved, at least publicly. He buried the woman he once fell for. And slowly, Los Angeles moved on. The fashion world returned to its usual chaos. The Forresters locked their doors tighter. And Deacon tried to build a life. Il Giardino, his modest restaurant, began to thrive. He found unexpected peace in the hum of the kitchen and the quiet loyalty of his staff. He even found love again, a real relationship, free from danger, free from darkness. Or so he thought. But now, the whispers are back. They began as rumors, then as anonymous tips to tabloids, then as a voice message on a burner phone that said only 3 words, "Sheila is alive." Deacon tried to ignore it. He deleted the message, but he couldn't shake the feeling. He began retracing her last days, rereading reports, studying footage. And just like the fans at home, he kept returning to one uncheckable detail: 10 toes. It didn't make sense. Sheila lost a toe. If the body had 10, then it wasn't her. And if it wasn't her, then where was she? That's when the second twist hit. An internal investigator working on a seemingly unrelated case, a probe into Luna Nozawa's disappearance and return, uncovered something buried deep in a private security server. A transfer of funds between an offshore account and a defunct clinic once tied to Sheila Carter. The transaction was old, buried under layers of shell companies. But the clinic, it was near where Luna had gone off the grid. The link was tentative, but it was enough to spark theories. What if Sheila hadn't just faked her death to escape the law, but to run a covert network? A network designed to help people disappear or reappear when it suited her. What if Luna's vanishing act and sudden reappearance had Sheila's fingerprints all over it? The theory caught fire. Online forums dissected it. A podcast episode went viral. Suddenly, the 10 Toes Live wasn't just a fandom inside joke, it was an open secret tearing through Los Angeles. And Deacon, he was right in the eye of the storm. He had no answers, no proof, but he had a past, a shared bed with Sheila, a history of hiding things for her. People began asking the one question that could burn his world to the ground: what did Deacon know, and when? The implications were devastating. If Sheila was alive, and Deacon helped cover it up even indirectly, he could lose everything. His restaurant could be shut down for obstruction. His liquor license revoked. His relationship over. His daughter Hope estranged again. Worse, if it turned out he knew Sheila had ties to Luna's disappearance and stayed silent, he'd be more than a man with a broken heart. he'd be an accomplice. He confronted Finn first, quietly, hoping for guidance. But the moment he brought up Sheila's name, Finn's eyes went cold. "Don't," Finn said. "Don't even say it. She's dead." "I saw the body. Did you count the toes?" Deacon asked. That silence said everything. Finn stormed out, but the damage was done. Now he had doubts too. And once doubt enters a story involving Sheila Carter, it never leaves. Brooke got wind of it next and exploded. She warned Hope to stay away from Deacon. Rich threatened to have him removed from Forrester events. Liam, of course, jumped at the opportunity to smear him, and even went as far as contacting the LA Times with a source claim. But it wasn't just gossip now. A waitress at A. Al Giardino went missing. Her name was Casey. Young, quiet, polite. She clocked out and was never seen again. Police found her phone in the trash behind the restaurant. A quick check of security footage showed nothing. The hard drive? Wiped. Just like the night Sheila supposedly died. Deacon started to break. He barely slept. He kept hearing her voice, that seductive whisper, that laughter just on the edge of madness. He began seeing her. In alleys. In the restaurant. In his dreams. Then one night, he got a letter. No address. No stamp. Just a single sheet of paper with a sentence written in red ink. "The dead don't stay dead. Protect what's yours or lose everything." No signature, but he didn't need one. He burned the letter. But the fear remained. And Luna. She was keeping her mouth shut. Too shut. Every time someone asked about her missing time, she stammered, deflected, claimed trauma. But those who knew her best, Poppy, RJ, even Steffi, could tell she was hiding something. Something heavy. Then, finally, Hope asked the one question no one had dared ask Luna directly. "Did someone help you disappear?" Luna froze. Tears welled. Her lips trembled. But she said nothing. And Hope saw the truth in her silence. Now, there are whispers of a deeper conspiracy. That Sheila is alive. Yes, but more than that, she's active. She's watching. Manipulating. Using her faked death not to escape, but to build something new. A hidden empire in the shadows, with Luna as one of the first pawns. And Deacon. He's at the center of it all. Whether he knows it or not. The stakes couldn't be higher. If the truth breaks now, if the world finds out that Sheila Carter is alive and connected to Luna's vanishing, Deacon loses not just his restaurant and relationship. He risks jail. Public crucifixion. Hope disowning him. Ridge running him out of town. Brooke leading the mob with a torch in one hand and a press release in the other. But if he stays quiet, he becomes complicit. And somewhere in the city's darkest corners, Sheila Carter watches, smiling, counting her next move. 10 toes. One lie. And the next body hasn't even dropped yet.